Jamal Simmons. Thanks for joining us on the Peel, where we get behind the headlines and get some real talk on how we make politics and the economy work for all Americans. Joining us today is Halie Soifer. She's Executive Director of the Jewish Democratic Council of America and an alum of the Obama administration and Senator Kamala Harris's Senate office. Next to her is April Rain, who most of you would know as the creator of the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite that became a movement. She challenges institutions on diversity and inclusion as a key part of her work. Thank you for joining us on the Peel, you two. This is week 2. You guys are like right here at the beginning. One of the things that was clear to me, and this came up in the debate, Elizabeth Warren, who I like to call E-Dub, because I think sometimes she's kind of a boss. So
I like that.
She's my boss name is E-Dub. But Elizabeth Warren really had a shot back at a couple of people about why run for president to talk about things that we can't do. So I think she epitomized to me part of this debate that's taking place about people with big vision and ideas versus people with smaller ideas, people who have who are more progressive in their ideas and people who are a little bit more pragmatic. And the question for me, I want to start with you, April, is do you think that dynamic is really what's happening in this debate between the candidates, or is there something else at work here?
I think that's right, that it is big ideas versus pragmatism. But I think the real concern that a lot of people have is who is going to beat Donald Trump, right? And so we can talk about policies all day long, and E-Dub has released a bazillion of them. It seems like every single day, and and they're well researched and everything else. But if people don't think that she can stand up to Donald Trump, it doesn't matter at the end. And so I think we see a real balance now. We now know that as of right now, there are only 7 people that are going to qualify for the next debate. And so we'll see whether there's a significant change. But I think that big policy versus pragmatism was necessary just because of how large the field was.
And Halie, Bernie Sanders obviously is the architect of Medicare for All, which is really driving the Democratic health care debate. You got somebody like Andrew Yang who wants to put a universal basic income out there and really addressing the question of what do we do in this technology society. Are these big ideas, some people say they're unachievable, should they even be part of the Democratic talking points?
I think so. I think another divide that we saw there was those who are kind of forward-looking and those who wanted to talk about the past. And I think Democrats want to hear ideas about what the future could look like with some of these big ideas and some of these policy changes. Democrats, I think, agree. There wasn't a lot of agreement on the stage, but I think there is a core agreement that we need change. And we need big ideas to bring about that change. So I think people want to hear that. And I'll just say, for those who talked a lot about the past, I think people want to hear about the future.
Joe Biden. That's the other question that's on the table. There was a quiet conversation happening a couple of weeks ago about this. I feel like now that conversation is getting louder. Is Joe Biden up for a long campaign and taking on Donald Trump?
I don't think so. And it's hard for me to say that. We have obviously the legacy of Vice President Biden being underneath Obama for 8 years. And I think Cory Booker made a good point. Sometimes he wants to sort of ride those coattails and remind people. He had that moment in the debate where he said, which I found a bit condescending, where he said, Obama researched me and did my background check and he chose me, so it should be good with everyone else. And I'm like, no, you sort of have to prove yourself as a potential presidential candidate, not as a vice presidential candidate. I think everybody was looking for Harris versus Biden round 2, and what I think we got was Booker versus Biden this time. And I think Cory Booker came off as incredibly rational and incredibly wanting to bring the party together, as Elizabeth Warren, I think, did in the first debate. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that Joe Biden is in it for the long haul. Whether he can run at the speeds and endurance necessary is a different question.
What do you think?
I'm going to have to disagree. I mean,
okay.
I think he's definitely one of the most experienced, people on that stage, and that was clear and evident. Maybe the format wasn't best suited for Joe Biden, but as someone who just had to sit silently in that hot room for 2.5 hours, I can say to have been on that stage and perform as he did, I thought demonstrated he's definitely up for it.
Well, wait a minute. Joe Biden's been doing debates for 40 years, right? So what would be the format that would be better? Is it just the
No,
debate
it's-
format?
Yeah, in general. I mean, I think as we narrow this field and you get fewer candidates on that stage and actually get to finish sentences and all of that, I think it will be a better format. But I think he did better than he did the first debate, and I think he's definitely he's up for it.
Is he invoking Barack Obama too much?
Well, I think those who invoked Barack Obama in a negative way, I don't think that's going to be embraced by Democrats. We not only did we revere Obama, but we miss him dearly. So to go negative on President Obama at this time, I don't think is a great talking point or selling point. So it's fine for him to talk about what he did in the Obama administration. I had an issue with those who attacked the Obama administration.
So 99% of African Americans in the poll I saw this morning like Barack Obama. But there are a lot of people in the Democratic coalition who are really frustrated with parts of the Obama legacy, which I don't think anybody was trying to litigate, but since Joe Biden's running on it, it's starting to come up, like the reporter-in-chief.
Exactly. More and more we're seeing that. And to be clear, I got my Obama administration via IV drip. I was Team Obama, for the entire 8 years. But he wasn't a perfect president, and we will never see that, right? And so now, with 2020 hindsight, we are all able to critique some of the things he did, and a lot of us did it during his administration as well. And so Joe Biden has to really decide whether he wants to have it both ways. If you're going to take on the mantle, and ride the coattails of the Obama administration, it has to be the good and the bad, and you have to have good answers for the things that went wrong and for the things that we may want to change.
All right, next thing, Tulsi versus Kamala. That was kind of a moment. What did you think?
It was an interesting moment. I think the Black community, I think specifically, has a significant issue with Kamala Harris and her time as both prosecutor and attorney general of California. And she's going to need to answer some of those really tough questions. I think that she was thrown off because the information, I don't want to say attack, but the information came from Tulsi, who is polling at maybe 1% if we round up, right? But she needs to be prepared regardless to have those conversations, and it didn't feel like she was prepared then. I actually agree that you don't punch down, right? And so had that come from, Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren once they're on the stage together, that makes more sense, and perhaps she'll be more prepared. But that's going to be a significant sticking issue, and I think that's why she's not polling better with African Americans at this time.
Well, Donald Trump doesn't care. Even though he has a horrible record on these things, he'll still use the attack lines. So do you think Senator Harris is she responding to these things the right way, or does she need to get a little bit better?
I think you heard her respond the next day and point out the fact that Tulsi Gabbard had gone to Syria and met with Bashar al-Assad, who has killed his own people for about a decade now. I would have liked to hear that on the stage. But I also think that was probably the point in the debate where Dems just didn't want to see so much negativity. And this wasn't about, Tulsi or Harris specifically. It was about, after about hour one, round two of kind of going after each other, I think people just, they don't want to see these attacks at this point. It started to look like we're just going after each other.
But again, Donald Trump is going to go after people. Like, Donald Trump is not going to care. He's going to throw garbage cans and shards of glass. He's going to throw your record at you.
We as Democrats can do better than that, and we're different. And I don't
But don't you think people have to take it, be able to take it?
Sure. And I think Harris, she was tough.
Yeah.
She stood her ground. She did. But I do hope that there's a little less punching in all directions in the next debate. And
it'll be interesting to see how Donald Trump attacks people, right? Because, for example, I think that Gillibrand had one of the quotes of the night. The first thing she wants to do when she enters the White House is wipe it down with Clorox.
Right.
I mean, that is saying a lot on a lot of different levels, and yet you see that Trump did not touch her at all. He did not tweet about her, but that was a really biting line. And so, we can have a larger discussion about how he seems to favor going after people of color, and we've seen that over weeks and weeks, but he's not doing it with those people who are calling him out, who are not people of color.
Yeah, I think, just from my opinion, I think Senator Harris started out a little shaky, but I think that she got better over the course of the night. I think that Joe Biden started out very strong, and he faded over the course of the night. This is, I think, we're gonna have to see when we get all the big people on stage. We're getting to the moment now. We've had our Democratic moment. Everybody got a chance to participate. They gave out trophies to all the kids on the soccer team. Now I think we're getting to the point where we need to see Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Biden and Harris and Booker or whoever on the stage together, and let's see then what the 6 or 7 or 8 candidates who really have some standing and really have some support in the party, the people who could possibly be president. Let's see what they say. I don't know. I'm ready.
I agree, and I think that Democrats don't want to see them going after each other quite as much.
They do. And then, of course, you'll also have the people who are really good on the internet, like Andrew Yang and some of the others who will lambast that whole process.
Exactly.
Which would be awesome, too. We can cover that. All right. Thank you, too, for being here. We got so much more we could talk about, but this is going to be enough for this week. Hopefully, you will be back.
Great.
Love to.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching Hill TV on YouTube. Be sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post new videos. And head to thehill.com for all the latest political news.